Welcome to This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty, the number one destination for Seinfeld fans. This is Two Up and Two Down. Here's our producer, Chris, to start us off.
All right, welcome back, everybody, and thanks for tuning in for another episode of Two Up and Two Down. And today we got season three's The Letter. So, Chris, start us off with your first up.
The Letter, March of 92, a little over 22 million. Watched this season 3 episode. Larry David, you know the deal, folks. So The Letter, first up, I mean, I got to go the Yankee Stadium scene. It's just from top to bottom, George's disappointment on being in the second row versus the first. I want to put my feet up on the dugout. I mean, incredible. And you know what? I feel you, man. Your problem is first row and you'll get first row, even though second row is unbelievable. It just, I don't know, that one hit home for me. Obviously, Elaine wearing the Oriole hat, unbelievable. While all this going on, Kramer's just yelling, George eating the hot dog. It was just brought me back to the early 90s Yankees, obviously, which is when this was going on. You'll never make it in this town. Kramer going crazy. And then obviously Elaine getting kicked out. I'm with Elaine here. But although, you know what? I see both sides of this. You're in the Big Stein's box. You show a little respect. But give me a break. This is America. I appreciate her challenge there. She's a tough woman. And I love that she just, they didn't throw a first pitch or maybe a couple pitches. And Georgia, they got to get out of it. And boom, Kramer gets hit in the head. Just so much packed into that one scene in Yankee Stadium. It's unbelievable. Easy one up.
Yeah, that is that's just a great scene. So it definitely deserves an up and a mention here. So Tony, over to you. What's your first up?
You hit all the bases there. Incredible scene. Kramer heckling 2:30 and going to cut it. And I'm mistaken, is that a Kevin Moss pop-up they show with Rizzuto announcing too? Definitely took me back to the to those 90s Yanks. Just a great scene. And I always forget that it's in this episode. It's a weird thing about this episode. The letter. I always think about the letter and chapter 2, whatever, but I always forget that this is that episode. And then so my first up is kind of the following scene. We both love Lippman. We both love Pendant. I think this is a great Elaine Lippman conversation. Ricky Henderson's unhappy. Yankees won. Mets lost. What does she say? Neuralgia, buoy. The whole conversation there. Buoyed the spirits, buoyed the spirit. I don't know. She's just all flustered. She drops the paper, laughing and everything. I just think, I love when Lippman and her go back and forth. He just, hey, come on, and talking to her, the whole thing. Give me my paper back. I don't know. It's one of those season 3 scenes that's the good Elaine. That's the Elaine we love. When she's more flustered, more cute, more not so polished with her leather jacket and her hair all done up and the beauty mark painted on her face and everything else. The cold, calculated woman. This is the Elaine we love. Talking to Lippman at Pendant. Trying to get herself out of the situation with some physical humor with the newspaper and everything else. Some great, Yankees Mets dialogue again, which we love. So that's my first up.
Yeah, another solid up there. So yeah, thanks, Tony, for mentioning that. Chris, over to you. What's your second up?
Good Elaine. It's great Elaine. I mean, I wrote Lippman Elaine scenes, fantastic. Elaine squirming. Like you could feel it, just if you've ever had a boss like that, and obviously, I don't know what scene he mentioned, but let's have a little fun and bring that Oriole cap, So great stuff. I mean, unbelievable. Yeah, you mentioned Rizzuto. Next up, I'm gonna go George. I love how he was just tagged along, meeting the new girlfriend, and he was less nervous about it. He knew he was going to get suckered into buying something. So his cheapness, his nervousness, Jerry wanted no part of it. But I love their conversation behind the door of her apartment. I don't know why. I just always love that scene where they're having that little banter. And I don't have to buy anything, do I? No. Jerry's just always so calm and collective, like not worrying, without a care in the world. And George always worries. I mean, that dynamic is what makes this show what it is. So for me, that George scene meeting Nina, if I believe her name was, for the first time. Second thumbs up.
Yeah, that's right. George meeting the girlfriends is always and trying to help Jerry out in those situations. Even like back in season one, George was all over those type of scenes. So yeah, that's a great mention. Tony, over to you. What's your second up?
Yeah, it was a Catherine Keener there, Nina. Yeah, my second up, and you make some good points there on George. Again, my grades are already swaying a little bit. I wrote down a bunch here. I'm coming up with the grade on the fly on this one, to be honest with you, folks. The Letter is one of those episodes that really, I always forget. It's like one of those. It's not the best season 3 episode. There's so many in season 3 that I love that the Letter always kind of gets forgotten about. And as we're talking through it right now in this rewatch, it's bringing me back to some good stuff. Listen, my second up is the on the couch clicker conversation. Them going back and forth the clicker, and George takes it, calls them pinheads. Just great. It's a great Jerry stand-up bit, sort of, you don't know to work the clicker, and then going back and forth the clicker the whole time. And then Jerry hears the chapter 2 where it's revealed a thief, a bunco artist. I know you can't not laugh at Jerry saying bunco artist, and George calling them pinheads. Both of those just acting like kids on the couch, just fighting over the remote control. It just, again, just love it when they're not adults, if you will, right? Just it's just so good. And then George finally, Jerry finally figures it out that she lifted it from the movie. Yeah, that's my second up, the old the clicker conversation couch bit.
All right, yeah, thanks, Tony. So Chris, we're going to start the downs, and what do you have for your first?
I'm glad I'm going first. I think it's an obvious one here, folks. In the Letter, the Nina and Jerry fighting right after the game. I mean, it felt uncomfortable, like relationshipy, like, and then obviously Jerry just broke up with her right there, and obviously had to take the painting. But every time I watch that, I don't feel good, and I want to feel good when I watch Seinfeld, and it just didn't. It was out of context, didn't feel right. I guess give her credit, like I didn't like her. And I know that's supposed to, I guess that's what it's supposed meant to be, but I felt uncomfortable with their fight right after the game. Obviously, she's a jealous nut job with Elaine, and maybe for good reason. Elaine's a good-looking girl, always there. So I don't know. I'm maybe defend her a little bit, but either way, I didn't feel comfortable with that scene of them breaking up.
Yeah, glad you mentioned that, because I think we all three of us have that sense of feeling as well. So yeah, good mention there. Tony, over to you. What's your second or first down? I'm sorry.
That's a great mention. I had it too, and I think that's why this episode, and we'll get there, but it's the reason this episode never sits well with me. It's the only way to describe it. Like, you don't feel good watching it. Nina is just Frank's a bitch. Let's just be frank here, folks. I mean, O'Hara may have a point. Maybe she's the only girlfriend in the history of the show that really got mad at Elaine being around. Elaine was always around. It was very odd. They probably said, let's not do this again after the fact, because she did have a Vanessa stock tip vibe too. Another one of Jerry's girlfriends that really just nudged him with the old fluctuating the stock and everything else. Like, those girlfriends, it's not fun. It's like Jerry's like not happy with them, and it makes everyone else not laugh. So great down. I just wanted to piggyback off it because I wrote it down too. My first down, and this is where I thought you were going when you said, I'm glad I went first. I don't like the Kramer stuff in this episode. It's just so weird, so odd. I mean, most of the time, early season weird, odd, I like. This I just never got from day one watching this back whenever it was. I don't know, 92, 91. It just, the old people, Kramer goes to dinner with them. The whole, I was on a steamboat, whatever the hell. I don't know. This was like Kramer, like just not being Kramer yet and trying to be. I don't know what was going on with this. I never liked it. I never understood. I know Pink Hats probably loved the painting of Kramer. You got it in your office. You got it in your room. You got it on T-shirts. Fine. I can live with that. I don't know, man. The old folks like dissecting Kramer's face. Oh, he's a vulgar man. Oh, beast, or all this stuff. I don't know. It didn't sit well with me. Just not. just not a great Kramer. I think that's where I'm going with this one. And usually, I don't find too many downs with Kramer, but this is one for me. I'm going to give that a down.
All right, yeah, thanks, Tony. Yeah, I mean, there was certainly a lot of good Kramer stuff that came before this, and yeah, this kind of fell short in this episode. So yeah, I can feel that vibe as well. So Chris, back to you. What's your second down?
Tough on Kramer as always. We know that. I'm pulling a Tony here. He always likes to say not enough of somebody, right? I didn't get enough George. It didn't. I felt like he took a back seat to this. You had the Kramer painting. You had Elaine. He was kind of, he got the painting, but he wasn't. If I had to rank him in the episode as far as activity, George felt like number 4. And just to piggyback a little, I didn't like the line, the Marsha Mason line. I'm going to throw that in with the George because he mentions that. Marsha Mason was, married to Neil Simon, but who the hell's going to know that? I think sometimes they get a little too smart for this stuff. Listen, this is good, George, but I wanted a little more. He could have elevated himself a little more in some capacity in this episode. So slight down.
All right, thank you, Chris. And Tony, your second down, please.
I totally agree. And when you kind of gave George an up earlier, the upset about the dugout, which was a great George. But after that, I agree. You kind of gave him an up earlier too with getting the painting stuff. So I was, you're going with that. You sort of give him an up and a down there, and I get it. Not enough is the reason for the down. And I agree, it's not enough. And we'll get to the grades in a minute, but my second down is actually I'm piggybacking off my first, to be honest with you. The Kramer stuff when he forgets everyone's names and everything because they're hitting the head with the ball. Again, just didn't play with me. I just felt like they were trying to give Kramer something to do while he's in, trying to give him a laugh or two. It was just silly. It was just, I don't know. I didn't sit well. Kind of throwaway stuff, but at the same time, also kind of a little bit lazy, if you will. I just didn't love it. So that's my second down is the Kramer, aftermath, if you will, of getting hit in the head with the ball. Not a huge fan.
Yeah, I see your point there too. So thank you, Tony. So Chris, we're gonna go back to you. Wrap things up here. What do you got for your grades and final thoughts?
Tough on Kramer. That's analysis right there. I'm not as tough on Kramer's episode. Love them at Yankee Stadium, and I even loved the line. I loved when he was blowing his nose and it was dripping over the art. And he's trying to wipe it off. And this is $500 piece of art. And classic Kramer, just there's snot there. And he just keeps trying to rub it off. And then him yelling, "Call her, Jerry. Fight for her. She's sure as hell fighting for you." To me, that elevates the K-Man a little bit. I know Tony's tough on him this episode, but the Kramer stuff, it's kind of a common theme when you think about Crazy Joe Davola hits his head, he can't think, John Tesh, the whole thing. So that happens, okay? We got Rizzuto, we got the Yankee game. Not enough George. It's still really good. It's still great George. It's not enough, okay? Nina's dad, not bad. I love his name, Lenny West. Lenny West. He's Littman's accountant too. I mean, small things, okay? But small things build the foundation of the show, as we know. Obviously, the Littman Elaine stuff was, quite frankly, all time. I mean, just tight, as good as it gets. Those two scenes, Rick Anderson, Littman catching the plane. I never missed my Sunday sports. Everything about it, I loved. I have a great. You know what? I'll just spit out the grade. The letter's a B, a solid B. I could have went higher, but Tony was swaying me a little bit, but I wasn't dipping below. So could have went as high as a B plus. And he made some good points. The Nina stuff. Maybe they learned a lot from this episode. They didn't go down that road again. That was a very interesting take. But either way, as it stands, the letter's a B.
Thank you, Chris. So, Tony, I'm going to go right to you. What do you got for your thoughts here and your grade?
That's great analysis. And as much as I brought him down, he's bringing me up. It's very interesting. I'm all over the place on this grade. I can go very low on this for season 3 standards, but I'm not gonna. I think there's so much here that's good. I'm going back and forth on this one, folks. The openings, the Yankee Stadium scene is amazing. We already touched on that. The you know, I just think Kramer brings a lot of this down. Like I said earlier, I did like the fight for you, sure as hell fighting for the fighting for you thing, fight for her, Jerry. We didn't like Nina. I agree with O'Hara. There's not enough George at all in this one. I don't like the button fly discussion. It's very, very Larry David conversation there with the whole button fly, big popping guy. Littman stuff was great. I'm right there. I'm between two grades here. O'Hara swayed me a whole hell of a lot, but I'm in a good mood. He got me over the hump here. I'm also going to give it a B. I was almost as low as a C plus. I went up to a B minus, and the more I'm looking at this, man, it's a very odd episode. It's just I feel like I feel like Pink Hats. This is their example of what they don't like about the early seasons. It's very disjointed. Kramer's all over the place with the painting stuff. There's not enough George. We don't like Nina, but but I'm still giving it a B. I don't know how I got talked into a B after all this, because it's not one of my favorite episodes in season 3 at all, by far. But I can't go back now. I gave it a B.
That's how strong season 3 is, what you're trying to tell us. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's probably, if not the worst season 3 episode, it's bottom 3 for me. And I'm still giving it a B. That's just where I'm. Yeah, you got me there. A B for the letter.
Well, yeah, there you go, folks. B from both Chris and Tony. That just shows you, yeah, again, like you said, Chris, how strong a season 3 is. So hopefully, the later fans of the show, go back and revisit. So thank you guys for your analysis, and we'll see everybody on the next one. Thanks.